Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. As you probably noticed from the title, you know who's going to win this game. Kramnik loses 3 in a row. I gotta tell you, honestly, I can't even remember the last time that happened. So get your cameras out because you're never going to see this again. And I don't think it ruins the game at all, knowing who wins. It's just an absolute masterpiece from Carlsen. I gotta be honest with you, it was incredible preparation on his part. This kid's still hitting his prime. But Carl Nakamura is still my buddy, but I gotta give credit where credit is due. He just tied Kramnik up and just slowly ground him down. It was a brilliant performance. Anyway, let's get to it. Magnus Carlsen is white, current world champion, and former world champion Vladimir Kramnik is black. It's going to be real opaque. You've seen this a couple times. C3, both castles, D6, H3. This has stopped an incredibly annoying pin with a bishop. Being the bishop here is outside the pawn chain, he can't come back. Knight E7. Interesting move there. Now, computer likes Queen E7, but I kind of like the Knight E7. He wants to keep the knight. He's going to bring him over to the king side. I think that's fine. D4. Bishop B6. Now, according to the computer off screen, that's the last book move. Bishop D3. Come back to protect the pawn. D5. Knight. D takes. Knight takes. Knight takes. Bishop takes. Pawn takes. What to do? What to do? Now, knight takes D4 is what the computer likes. Number 2 is C takes. And number 3 is Queen is C2. Now, that's almost a full point difference between the first suggested move and the last. The last is what Carlsen did. Now, it shows not very good for white. A tiny advantage now for black, but there's a lot here. You got to remember, if I remember correctly, he was moving. Carlsen was practically moving instantly. And now Kramnik's thinking, I'm in preparation. What do I do? Computer really likes F5. And I thought, when I was looking at the game, when it was at livestream.com, you can watch it. Just punch in Shamir chess, and the whole video for the whole round will come up. I like that myself, frankly. That F5, and I was thinking that. And that's what the computer likes. G6, not the greatest, but, you know, you do what you got to do. But he went H6. And that brought up Carlsen's score a little bit. I think he's got Kramnik a little spooked here. If he had got F5, after Bishop D3, pawn takes, Rook E1. And if pawn takes, bishop takes, with the bishops and everything bearing down here, might be tough for him. But after H6, knight takes D4, C takes D4, Rook D1. Rook D1 I like a lot, of course, pinning the pawn. But Carlsen decided to go A4. Again, not the computer's best move. The little bit of advantage that he had is now gone. It's an even game. What to do, what to do? He goes C6. Computer likes C5. And F5 again. Now he's out of his element. And that's what happens sometimes. You get somebody back on their heels. I think they got this huge preparation, and he's spending 15, 20 minutes a move here. One move was a half an hour, and we're on move 14. So his time is just getting eaten up, and it's just making it worse. Rook to D1, pinning the pawn. Knight to D5, just to stop the pin. Knight takes, Rook E8. Okay, it's still a game. It's a weird one, but it's still a game. I think this is where psychologically Kramnik was having an incredible hard time. And when you have somebody like Magnus Carlsen that's moving almost instantly, or taking a very short amount of time, these guys are scared to death that somehow you stumble onto somebody's preparation. A5. If you think this is going to get weird now, wait till what's coming up here. Finally gets rid. Bishop takes A5. Knight to F3. Just that casual move there. Knight to F3. And everything's being held together. B5. Knight now goes back to D4. Now this pawn. By moving this pawn here, this pawn now has to be guarded. Bishop B7, I think, is the move. And I think this is where he starts to lose it a little bit. We're on move 19, and he's used a ton of time already. And he went bishop back and just gave up the pawn. He probably should have played bishop B7. And after bishop takes, pawn takes, knight takes, A6. It's not the end of the world. Yeah, granted, he's had a couple isolated pawns on the queen side, but I think he holds it together. But when he went bishop C7, knight took, queen to D6, threatening a lot of nasty stuff. Queen here, check, king over, queen checks. King's going to go out in the open. Now the queen takes here. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. He's in a lot of trouble. So he just simply goes G3. Stops all of that. Those of you that were wondering about taking the knight. Queen. And now if bishop takes, this is mate. Pretty slick, huh? After G3, then he went bishop B7. Maybe he got the move order mixed up from before. I really don't know. But I know he's flustered. And if you're going to fluster Vladimir Kramnik, good for you. That's not that easy. Bishop F4, hitting the queen. Now this is where I think he really gets in trouble here. Queen to D7. Queen F6. He takes the worst move out of the three. Queen takes C6. He feels he has to. It's not the end of the world if he goes queen to D7. Bishop takes. Let's back this up a little bit here. Is that the best he can do, really? Tough break. Bishop takes. He's got to play rook E1 check. King moves. Queen takes. Rook takes. Rook takes. He's got to give up his queen for the rook and the bishop. It's an almost 3-point advantage right now for white. And we're on move 25 against Vladimir Kramnik, former world champion. The guy's a monster. Rook to D1. He's got to come back. Rook takes. Queen takes. Now, rook D8. Now, how is Carlsen going to win this? A queen is superior to a rook and a bishop. We all know that. But if somehow black can set up some kind of fortress where all the pieces are guarding each other, he should be able to draw. Goes queen to E2. Bishop B6. Doesn't want to trade. He goes bishop E3, forcing him to trade. Because now, if the bishop moves, he loses his pawn. He has to trade. Queen takes. What's he going to do? Bishop D5, the computer likes. Bishop D5, probably coming back here. But somehow, you gotta get that's a good spot for the rook. And how are these two pawns going to be guarded? It's an awkward situation. Rook to D1. Kramnik, or excuse me, Carlsen is spoiled for choice here. So he has to go G4. Gives king a little loof, and of course you can see why it was threatening a mate here in the corner. Bishop C6. There's nowhere for that bishop to go. Protect the pawns and protect himself. He's trying to set up a fortress, but he can't. Carlsen's not letting him do it. Queen to C5. Bishop comes over. He's got to protect the B pawn. Now the rook's guarding the bishop and the bishop's guarding the pawn. Who's going to guard the A-pawn? Now he's down a pawn. It's an almost 4-point advantage right now for white. But you gotta be precise when you have a queen against a bishop and a rook in order to win. And Carlsen's being incredibly precise. Computer likes f6, g6. He goes rook to d2. And the points are slowly creeping up. I mean, Kramnik's just suffering. King to g3 brings the king up. Computer like queen checks. And king h7. Queen f4, hitting the rook and the pawn. Rook takes b2, rook takes rook d2. I like that a little bit better. We decided to go rook to d3 instead. Here comes the king up. King's going to help a lot. That bishop and that rook are discoordinated. Can't go after the king. A king can just start moving up, and that king becomes a very powerful piece. Covers some key squares. Queen b7, rook d2. I mean, what's he going to do? The rook's got to stay on the d file, protect the bishop. King e3, forcing the rook to move again. Now f4. g6. Queen b8, hitting the rook. Rook's got to move. I mean, look at it. The rook can't go here, 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 or here. King e4, here he comes. Now he moves the bishop to guard him. Queen b7, just slowly turning the screws. He would love now to trade bishop takes, king takes. With this passed pawn on this side, he wins. He would love to trade him back. Rook to c5, but he can't. He's got to protect that pawn. King d4. Now the rook's out of spaces to protect the pawn. Rook checks, king e5. b4, he just jettisons the pawn. So if he's going to lose him, I'll make him double. Rook goes to c2. Now here's something really interesting. King f6. Now the king becomes a really powerful offensive piece. If you can get this queen over here, you can mate here. Rook takes, queen b8. Now the threat is queen here, mate. He has to go rook to f2. Now pause the video now and see if you can find the winning move for white. It's not that easy to find, so pause it now and take a good hard look at the position. The winning move is f5. Beautiful. Now g has to take queen to g3, hitting the rook. Can't play pawn takes. Discovered check because the queen will just take it. Rook has to move. And now you go g5. Now black's f-pawn is basically playing a traitor. He's guarding the black king from the rook. They're guarding the white king from the rook. And this is where Vladimir Kramnik, former world champion, one of the greatest players in chess, resigns. To give you an idea what would have happened after f4, queen checks, bishop, queen takes, king g8, king checks, king, g6 check, pawn has to take, queen d7, and then mate. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Poor Vladimir, I felt bad for him. Boy, I had a look on his face like, you know, like, how the hell is this happening? But a great game by Carlsen. And I gotta give the kid credit. He's still moving up in his chess knowledge and skill. We'll see how far he goes. Hopefully, in the next championship cycle, he'll play a Carl Nakamura. That would be awesome. I think that would be great. Anyway, folks, that's a great game from round 7 of the 2nd annual Gashimov Memorial. I hope you enjoyed it. And as I always say, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.